Hello and welcome to today's lesson from ESSA. Today we're going to go over the USCIS Form N-400, which is the application for U.S. naturalization for U.S. citizenship. This video is going to go over the general instructions for completing the form, after which subsequent videos will go over the form step by step. We'll go over each part very specifically. There are 17 parts to the application, and the application is 21 pages long. Okay, so today we're going to do the general overview, the general instructions. All right. Now, before beginning the application, before beginning the Form N-400, you want to make sure that you're actually eligible for citizenship. Okay, so there's a few general guidelines. You are at least 18 years old. You should have been a permanent resident in the United States for at least 5 years, or 3 years if you are married to a U.S. citizen. You have to be married to and living with a U.S. citizen for at least 3 years. You need to demonstrate continuous residence and physical presence in the U.S. That means that you cannot you have to make sure that you're here for a specific amount of time. You can't leave the country for too long. If you leave the country for 6 months to a year at a time, you need to have special permission to come and go. Otherwise, you break the continuous residence and the physical presence in the United States. You should be able to read, write, and speak basic English. There are exemptions to this, and we'll go over that. There are also exemptions to the permanent resident status if and other requirements if you have honorable service in the U.S. military. Okay, and we will go over all of that as well. All right, so let's see. The full USCIS eligibility worksheet can be found on this link. All the links will be down below, okay? And I also try to add tabs there for you as well. But if you look here, this is the naturalization eligibility worksheet. And you can see it's a very easy to follow worksheet. It's, you answer the question, I am at least 18 years old, true. Not true. True, you move on. I'm a permanent resident and have issued a permanent resident card, true, not true, so it's a very easy to follow worksheet to figure out if you are eligible. All right, and I will have the link to that down below. Right, the other link I will have is who is eligible for naturalization. This is a little bit more specific, and this goes into more of the requirements. And again, you can see here it's if you are at least 18 years old and have been a permanent resident for past 5 years and no special circumstances. So this goes into a little bit more of the special circumstances. So if you have a question about, because everybody is so different, their situations are so different, you want to make sure that you figure out if you are eligible, because you do not want to send in an application and the money and then find out you weren't eligible for citizenship. Again, this link will be down below. Okay. Citizenship for military personnel and family members. The USCIS recognizes the important sacrifices made by non-U.S. citizen members of the U.S. Armed Forces and their families. So there are special situations where you do not have to have permanent residency for such and such amount of time, or you do not have to be if you're deployed for a certain amount of time, you won't break the continuous residence, things like that. And there is a specific link that talks about all of, if you are in the military, let me see, there is this page, Citizenship for Military Personnel and Family Members. Okay, so that would be another important link if that is your situation. Again, that will be down below. All right. So I will have many links down below. You can see the exemptions and accommodations, the frequently asked questions, the full U.S. guide to naturalization. All kinds of stuff will be in the links listed below. Okay? All right. So the first thing you want to do, or the second thing you want to do, once you figure out if you are definitely eligible, you want to make sure that you are using the correct version of the Form N-400. The correct version is available on uscis.gov. It is free of charge. You do not have to pay for an application, okay? Make sure. There's a lot of scams out there that people say they'll help you and they'll ask for money for everything. This is all free stuff. You should not have to pay except for the fee when you send in your application. Okay. The new application is 21 pages. If you have an old application specifically before 2014, then that is no longer valid. That's the old 11-page application. This new application is 21 pages long. It has additional questions specifically about terrorism, and it also has a 2D barcode technology, okay, especially if you do your answers online. Okay, so when you get the application, let's see, the application looks like this. Here is the application for naturalization. You can see right here, USCIS Form N-400. Okay. After our general instructional video, we're going to go through this whole form step by step. We're going to go over part 1, part 2, okay, part 3, part 4. And you can see it is 21 pages long. Make sure on the bottom it says 21 pages so you have the correct form. Okay, that is exactly what it looks like today. All right, let's go back here. You want to type or print clearly using black ink. Okay? If extra space is needed to answer any question, specifically if it talks about where have you lived in the past 5 years, where have you worked, where have you left the United States in the past 5 years, if you have more answers than allows on that page, then you need to attach additional sheets of paper. Do not write in the margins or try to squeeze it in. Attach additional sheets of paper, and then on each additional sheet of paper, you need to write your alien registration number, your A number, the date, the application, part, and item that you're referring to on the additional sheet, and also sign it, your signature on each additional sheet. Please make sure you do that, and then put all the sheets together with the application, okay? It's much easier to go ahead and type right on the computer. It's easier for them to read. If you can't and you have a printout, that's fine. Just make sure that you print very clearly. It's helpful also if you use all capital letters. People find that easier to read. Okay. Answer all questions. Very important. Don't leave anything blank. If there is something that is not applicable, just write NA. Okay. Unless it says you can leave it blank. Otherwise, just write NA. Do not leave anything blank. Answer all the questions. Okay. Avoid highlighting, crossing out, or writing outside the area for a response. Okay, again, very important. If you have to make a lot of corrections, if you're writing this out using a black pen, then it would be best to start over if you figure out you have to cross stuff out and rewrite stuff. And the reason is because all these scanners, all this new technology, the scanners could sometimes get mixed up. If there's a lot of correction tape, if there's whiteout fluid, the scanners don't pick up that. They don't read it well, and they'll read sometimes what's underneath it, and you do not want to have incorrect information going through, because it could delay your application or it could downright reject your application. Okay, and you don't want to do that, and also you don't want to lose the money you send in. So just go ahead and print off another 21 pages and start over, or just the page that you messed up on. Okay. All right, you're going to provide your A number, which is your alien registration number, on the top right-hand corner of each page. Okay, it's located on your permanent resident card. And if you look here, let's see, your permanent resident card is formerly known as the alien registration card or your green card. And you look here, if your permanent resident card looks like here, you can see your A number and the date you became a permanent resident. That is going to be important. So these two numbers, okay, are going to be very important. So your card should look something like one of these, depending on when you received it. Okay, if you want to have your alien registration number consists of 7 to 9 numbers altogether. And if it has fewer than 9 numbers, you want to put zeros in front of those numbers. So for example, so you want to make it a total, basically you want to make it a total of 9 numbers. Don't leave blanks at the end. So you put zeros in the beginning to make it 9 numbers long. So for example, here, write number A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as, so that's only 7 numbers. You want to write 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, or if it's A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you want to write A, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so make sure that area has 9 numbers. And if we go back here real quick, all right, you can see right here, enter your 9-digit A number. The A is already there for you. Your 9-digit A number. It is on every page. You're going to put that on every page. Now, if you are doing it on the computer will automatically fill that in for you on each page. Okay, let's go back. Your application must be properly completed and signed. Okay, a photocopy of the application is acceptable as long as it bears a handwritten signature, right? You can't stamp, typewrite. You don't want to, if you're using the computer, don't type your name. You got to print it out and sign it before you send it in, right? Otherwise, it will not be accepted. Make sure that it is signed. Okay. Your application must be accompanied by the appropriate filing fee. The appropriate filing fee. And as of March 1st, 2016, March 1st, 2016, I will update this if it changes, but as of today, March 1st, 2016, the current filing fees are as such. The fee for filing your application is $595, and the biometric services is $85. So you are going to pay a fee with a check or money order drawn on a U.S. bank payable to the Department of Homeland Security. Do not use initials. Do not use DHS. Department of Homeland Security for $680. $680 to the Department of Homeland Security as of March 1st, 2016. Above all, do not send cash. Do not send cash. Okay? There is a way you can use a credit card, and there's no additional fee. That's another form. It's the G1450, and that's on USCIS.gov website. I will put a link to that down below. I didn't think about that, but I'll put a link to that as well down below, okay, for using a credit card. Otherwise, a check or a money order is best. All right. If you're applying for naturalization based on armed forces in the United States, then there's no filing fee or biometric services fee. If you're over 75 years old, then you don't have a biometric services fee either for the fingerprinting with your application. Okay. So there are, like I said, there are little exceptions, especially for military. Okay. All right. There is the fee waiver guidance. The fee waiver guidance is basically it's another form, the I-912. You may file for a fee waiver based on inability to pay. Okay, you have to use the request for a fee waiver form I-912, and or you can write a written request is also acceptable. To be very honest with you, it's very hard to get one of these waivers, right? And don't send the fee waiver request by itself. You have to send it with your full form, the N400 form application, right? To be eligible for the fee waiver, you have to qualify for means-tested benefits. Your household income is at or below 150% poverty level at the time you file, and you can see the poverty guidelines for the fee waiver requests. Also, if you're experiencing a financial hardship that prevents you from paying the filing fee, including unexpected medical bills or emergencies, you can go ahead and request the waiver and explain the situation. All right. Okay, let's go back here for a sec and I will show you here. The fee waiver guidance will give you the instructions for filling out. You look down here, instructions for Form I-912, a request for fee waiver. Okay, and you could get the form and fill that out, or again, you can send in a handwritten explanation about doing so. It's always better to do kind of the, you know, the computerized version, to be honest with you. It's easier for people to read if you can do that. All right. Okay, so the 2D barcode technology. If you are completing the form on a computer, the data you enter will be captured using 2D barcode technology, and it will ensure that the data you provide is accurately entered into the USCIS system. And then as you complete each data field, the 2D barcode line will shift as the data is captured, blah, 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 technology, right? Anyway, the bottom line is be very careful not to mess that barcode up, okay? So don't fold it, don't staple it, don't puncture it, don't write on the barcode, because that'll just mess everything up and take more time to process your form. You want to make sure your form is nice and neat and clean and clear so there's no mix-ups, right? Okay. Oh, so early filing. So remember how we said that you need to be a permanent resident for at least 5 years or 3 years if you're married to a U.S. citizen. You can actually file 90 days before you complete that permanent residence requirement. Okay? If you are a permanent resident for 5 years, you can fill out and file the application at 4 years, 3 months. Okay, 4 years, 9 months, blah. So you can file a little bit early, all right? Because by the time they get it and process it, that 3 months will be over and you will, be up to that 5 years or that 3-year mark. So you can file a little early, all right? And so to determine your 90-day early filing date, begin by identifying your 5-year or 3-year date as a permanent resident. Okay, if your permanent resident card says July 4th, 2006, you meet that 5-year permanent resident mark on July 4th, 2011, right? But as long as you're eligible and you're definitely eligible for citizenship, you can file your N-400 90 days before July 4th, 2011. Okay, so then the earliest date you can apply would be April 5th, 2011. Okay, that is a little bit like 3 months or so before. You want to make sure that you don't file sooner than that date, though. Okay, you have to be very careful about that early filing date, because if you file too early, even by a day or 2 days, they might throw out your application and you have to start all over and blah, blah, blah. So you want to be careful with that. And to make it easy, they actually have this USCIS early filing calculator. Okay, so they have this information for the early filing calculator, and you can actually click there. And it comes up with, look at that, date calculator. You type in your anniversary date, and then it will, the earliest accepted filing date. Okay. All right. The calculator will help you verify that you file your Form N-400 with USCIS no more than 90 days prior to your permanent resident anniversary date. USCIS will deny your Form N-400 if you file your form more than 90 days prior to your anniversary date, and you also might lose your money. So be very careful of that early filing date, okay? 90 days and not a day sooner. All right, evidence. You must submit all required initial evidence along with all of the supporting documentation with your application at the time of filing. Otherwise, they will, hold your application and say you need to submit more, and it just goes on and on. So make sure that when you send in your application, you send in your filing fees and your biometric fees, and you also send in all the documentation that you need, okay? And again, everyone's situation is different. You might have to send in tax reports. You might have to send in, if you're a widow, you will have to send in the death certificate. If you have a divorce, you have to send in the divorce certificate, things like that, okay? You can find, oops, I'm going to close this. The document checklist, again, the link will be down below, but here is a very specific document checklist. So this says right here, all applicants must send in the following 3 items, which is the photocopy of both sides of your permanent resident card. You need 2 identical color photographs with your name and alien registration number written in pencil on the back. You need to send in the check or money order for the application and the biometrics fee. All right, but then there's that's for everybody. Then there are other things that you can send in, like send copies of the following documents. Unless we ask for an original, you could send in copies. Remember, because the copies you might not get back. So these are different. If your current legal name is different from the name on your permanent resident card, you have to send in the document that says you legally changed your name. You need to send in you need to send in evidence that your spouse has been a U.S. citizen. If you're doing the spouse 3-year thing, you need to send in your current marriage certificate. Proof of termination of all other marriages, your divorce certificates, things like that are specific to each person. So you're going to want to make sure you go through this document checklist to make sure you actually send in all the proper documents. Okay, some people don't have to send hardly anything in. Okay, you just send these 3 things in and you're done. But other people have to send in a lot more documents, okay? Just make sure that you send in what you need. Okay, that is evidence. Okay, the biometric services appointment. After you file your application, the USCIS will schedule your biometric services appointment, which is your fingerprinting. Okay, they will send you a form, an appointment notice, and that's Form I-797C, Notice of Action, and it will include the date, the time, and the location for your appointment. Okay, you make sure you attend that appointment, because failure to attend the appointment may result in denial of your application. The fingerprinting will allow USCIS to confirm your identity and then run the background checks and security checks on you. So you make sure that you attend that appointment. If you can't attend that appointment, you will have to contact USCIS immediately to let them know, to try to get a new appointment. Okay? When you go to the appointment, bring your appointment notice and a valid photo identification. Okay, copies. Unless it is specifically required that you give them an original document, copies are fine. Only because you might not get the copy back. You might not get the original document back. Just make sure your copy is legible, okay? Like a clear, nice copy. All right, translations. Any document submitted to USCIS with information in a foreign language must be accompanied by a full English language translation, and the translator must certify that the English language translation is complete and accurate, and that he or she is competent to translate from the foreign language into English. Okay, so make sure if you are sending documents in, death notices, divorce notices, anything that may be in your first language, have those translated, okay, before you send them in. All right, so basically that's the overview of the N400 application, submitting the N400 application and going through how to fill it out and what's going to happen. The next few videos will go through the N400 application form step by step. We'll go through each part, all 17 parts. We'll answer specific questions, right? So if you are interested, if you are already not subscribed to this channel, please subscribe below, and then you can receive the newest videos as they come out. So thank you very much, and good luck to all of you.